Good afternoon. Welcome. We'll let everybody get signed in, get your audio turned on. So glad you could join us today. Welcome to teaching new science curriculum in an active, transdisciplinary, and fun way. My name is Cheryl Babin. I'm a designer of professional learning at the Calgary Regional Consortium, and I'm here with my partner, Wanda Decant, also a designer of professional learning from the CRC. And we are part of a larger team of connected, caring educators from the Alberta Regional Professional Development Consortia. So we're excited today to work on the resources that will support learning and designing for learning in kindergarten and grade 1. You'll notice a link to today's slide deck at the bottom of the slide. It's a bit.ly link, K1 Science-resources. And thank you, Wanda, for popping that into the chat. Very appreciated. I hope everyone's doing well today. Feel free to use the chat and let us know who you are and where you've come from. If you're signing in from maybe your school or your district or your area, let us know where you are and how you're doing today. While you are doing that and popping into the chat, I wanted to share with you another source that I pulled from Braiding Sweetgrass for Young Adults, the book that I quoted from last week by Robin Wall Kimmerer and adapted by Monique Grace Smith for young adults. And this particular component was pulled out of the chapter which talks about allegiance to gratitude. And it's the, I'm going to pronounce this as best I can with respect. I hope I can get it as close as possible. Haudenosaunee Thanksgiving Address. Now, this is not intended to be specifically for the Thanksgiving that European descendants have and like settlers to this land have used, but rather it's an opportunity to really show gratitude for the land. And I think this is really absolutely so essential every day, but in particular today, as Alberta is under a state of emergency because of the wildfires. And I'd like to just take a moment to really think about how our land is everything, and the people that care for the land, those of us that have joined here as visitors on the land, but really for us to recognize who's cared for it and lived on this land for generations. And so today, while we are thinking about all of the people who are displaced and are fighting against those wildfires, I would like to also recognize the Indigenous people who are teaching us and we will continue to learn from in terms of how to protect and sustain our beautiful land. So join me in noticing some of the ways in which this particular attempt at consolidating and articulating gratitude comes to life. So I'm just starting here at the top left-hand corner. Let us bring our minds together as one as we send greetings and thanks to each other as people. In these gathered faces, we see the cycles of life continue. I'm going down and around in this way. We send greetings and thanks to our mother, the earth, for she gives us everything that we need for life. The waters of the world that nurture life for all beings and all the fish life in the water. The vast fields of plant life, the berries, the trees, and the medicine herbs of the world. The edible plants we harvest from the garden, especially the Three Sisters. The beautiful animal life of the world and all the birds who move and fly above, over our heads. The powers we know as the four winds, who purify the air we breathe and help to bring the changes of the seasons. Our grandfathers, the thunder beings, who live in the west with their lightning and thundering voices. Our eldest brother, the sun. Our oldest grandmother, the moon, and the stars who are spread across the sky like jewelry. The enlightened teachers who have come to help through the ages. And we now turn our thoughts to the Creator, or Great Spirit, and send greetings and thanks for all the gifts of creation. And now our minds are one. So as we think about how we can bring the science curriculum to life, it's so important that we remember that there are multiple ways of seeing the world. And this is often called two-eyed seeing, where we can look at the scientific from a westernized or viewpoint, but also from an Indigenous perspective that allows us to see the connectedness and the relationships between the people, the land, and all that are together. So I have decided today to present a top 10 list, but it's not necessarily a list of top 10 in order, because it's top 10 in total. They are all fabulous. And what we've tried to do is give you a little sense of why we think that these particular resources are worth your time and ideas for how you might choose to use them. And so I hope you will enjoy. On this slide deck, you will notice that everything is linked as possible connections. So when you're clicking through on your own, you'll see lots of hyperlinked pieces, and every single image that I have clipped is linked to a document as well. So just so you know that whether you decide to print this out as a PDF and have it all there, probably less useful than having it just on your desktop on your computer so that you can click into the links. But I'm going to give you a bit of a tour of that today. In order to reference the learning outcomes that align with or that I've attempted to highlight through these resources, I'm drawing on an ARPDC resource. Again, that's the Alberta Regional Professional Development Consortia. And some of my colleagues, brilliant colleagues from the Central Alberta region, have created a numbered outcome document. And this is just a clip from it. You will see at the top on the right-hand corner that there's a little bit of a legend that talks to you about the grade, the organizing idea, the learner outcome, and the row of understanding, just in the way that that curricula is documented and laid out in that process. And so as you'll soon see that I've linked in specific numbered documents so that, or learning outcomes, my apologies, so that you can see where they come from and what they are linked to. So hopefully that will be helpful to you as we go through. While we're thinking about these particular resources, and many of them for the purposes of this session are websites, links, videos, learning experiences, I really want to stress the importance of using these ideas to springboard ways that you can get students' hands and hearts and heads really active. And so wherever possible, we're going to really encourage you to create that learning experience so that kids are active in doing the learning in a very physical and moving kind of way. And then give them the chance to talk. And after that talk, that's where you might write or draw or question or label, bringing some of the structure into that narrative, and then get back to the experience again and coming back to talk. And so this cycle of flow, it's activating different modalities of thinking and learning, and really giving students a chance to form their understandings and build those together as they go. So we'll try to link this cycle of how to really activate students in this work as we go through. All right, so the first resource that I'm going to share today, number 10 on our countdown list, although they're all equal, right, is called Scientists in School. And perhaps you have seen this particular one. This is a link to the website, as you can see, and they're really about igniting scientific curiosity. And they have a lot of different resources and workshops and programs. So I pulled one out that would directly connect to our kindergarten and grade 1 learning outcomes. This one in particular follows into the organizing ideas about matter and energy. And you can see those codes linked in here. Kindergarten matter learning outcome number 1, children examine properties of objects. And so this particular one is called Let It Snow. And when you click into that link, you will get, it takes you to a PDF, which talks a little bit about what you can do on those snowy days with snowflakes and the science of it, tracking temperature, wind, and all kinds of things. What patterns do you notice? There's a field guide to snowflakes. So that even within here, there's links to different pieces that you can explore. They recommend how to bring out the magnifying glasses and how to work with different things like that together. Take a look at a video that examines how snowflakes are unique, to how you can form and manipulate and change that matter. And is it a solid? Is it a liquid? How does it turn from a gas? You can start to bridge into some of those pieces. This one has a little link into how clean is the snow, or how do the snow and rain compare? So some scientific inquiries that you can use these questions to provoke and prompt conversation and experiences with your students. And so you can see that they have provided a few different ideas for you. And I love that they've got some art in there. That will lead us right in nicely into our transdisciplinarity for next week. And I know that my friend Wanda is making math learning experiences in her mind right now around some of these provocations and ideas. Am I right, Wanda?
Totally. Just thinking about this different symmetry for your snowflakes and
Oh,
so
yeah,
many
there you
awesome
go.
abstractions.
I love it. So there are more possibilities, and that's just one of the many different experiences that are offered on this website. So we'll give you a chance to look into the programs, and you can see how all of the different parts are here. And then in this resources section on the right-hand side, you can get to educational resources, teacher resources, and video resources. So scientists in school can also come out and offer you in-school experiences with your students. So check it out. Any comments? Feedback? Have you had any experience with this one before? Please open up the chat or pop on your mic and let us know what you think. The next resource I'd like to share is called Let's Talk Science, and it's probably one that you've seen before, but I'm super excited about the way that Let's Talk Science has updated all of their resources to link directly to our new curriculum. Yay! So Let's Talk Science, explore programming and resources all the way through. If you go to the educational resources site here, you can select resources by curriculum, which I love because you can select Alberta, and we can choose any grade. If we do K or 1 for this particular one, you can see that it's our updated science, any topic, and this brings us to a couple of different possibilities. And so I've linked you to one about bee helpers, and you can see that it talks a little bit about how that lesson and learning might be consolidated, learning goals, success criteria, and the assessment components, like how will you know if students are actually learning? I love that they think about it through an interactive, minds-on, active way, and what kinds of materials you would need to consider. And so both of these ones, the bee helpers and experimenting with plants, just as possibilities, you can see that I've selected 3 or 4 different outcomes that directly link into those particular ones. Now, the kindergarten outcomes also will connect to these as well, because you're exploring the environment around you, and it's a little bit more open. So you can most certainly, as you know, those kindergarten students will be captivated by this topic and these resources. So once again, any comments, please drop them in the chat.
Hey, Cheryl, do you
Yeah.
happen to know if these sites are also available in French? I saw that question and I'm not sure myself.
Oh, that's a good question.
I can look it
So
up.
this Let's
Yeah.
Talk Science is
Ah,
available in French. Now, I can't tell you if they are, if all of the
mm,
resources have been translated, but this particular one is, and so you can see that they are available. I was in a meeting about French resources today, and we are definitely working hard to try to get as many resources available in French as we have for our English teachers as well. And so I will bring you to another link later on where you'll see that we have teams of people working to try to create science resources for our French immersion students, and also for FSL down the road, but mostly predominantly for our French immersion. So great
awesome.
question. Thank
Thanks,
you.
Cheryl.
Anyone use Let's Talk Science? Yes, thank you, Wanda, for indicating. Sometimes you just have to give them your email address and then they will send the resources to you for free. I tried to avoid any resources that had any sort of payment today because I wanted it just to be really accessible to you and not without, to save you from the process of looking for funding and getting a subscription and all of that sort of thing. So, all right. Well, we couldn't talk about science without David Suzuki now, could we? The David Suzuki Foundation continues to have really solid resources for supporting our teaching and learning in elementary science. And so the document that I linked specifically for you today is they have different things such as, well, leads you to one PDF document, and it brings you I'm going to just slow down and say that sentence again. This particular document helps to support teachers getting students outside. And many of you do as much as possible and often, but there's others of us that feel that there's barriers and challenges. And we know that those can be real, especially when we're trying to get out into nature. And then somebody has to go to the washroom and you're like 5-minute walk away from that, all of those little kinds of barriers. And so this particular resource helps us to support the structures that can enable that kind of learning to happen in practice, and really thinks about it from that teacher's perspective, keeping all the students' needs in mind. There are some structures that can help you make it really safe and controlled. There are suggestions for, as soon as you get out into your space, here's a couple of ideas for some energy burners just to get all the wiggles out, and an adopt a tree idea where students revisit their tree that they've adopted and watch and observe over the course of the year. And so this resource will be really helpful as you consider the ways to get your students as active and as outside as much as possible. I hope you'll enjoy. Thanks, Wanda, for your comment about Rosie's Walk. That's great. The computation and sequential thinking, that links perfectly into the computer science outcomes that we have in the K-1 science. So that's great. Okay, the next resource that I really want to share with you is our New Learn Alberta. And there's 2 ways that you can search for resources. I haven't listed them all on this particular slide the same way that I did with the others, but I have 2 screenshots, and I'd like to take you to the Learn Alberta site so that you can see how you might discover the resources that are available and connected specifically to the learning outcomes that you need. So the first way that you can do that is to go right to the Alberta Curriculum website, go into your subject that you're interested in. We will go to kindergarten for this one, for example. And then what you need to do is you scroll to a learning outcome, and the outcomes are all green. And when you hover over them, you'll notice that there is a share arrow and a small lowercase I. So oftentimes I've said you just click on the I and people are actually looking for a physical I, but it is an information button there. And when you hover over that, you can see that it kind of lights up and gives you those. So if you click on the I, and you're patient because, just things sometimes bump around a little bit. So we're going to scroll through and click on an I, kindergarten, children examine and describe surrounding environments. So let's click on this one. Once you get into this piece, which is called a flyout, you can toggle between the cusps, all the knowledge, understanding, skills, and procedures, and the resources. And so underneath this particular learning outcome, you have this particular book, and it's a recommendation. This one is called Taking Care of Mother Earth, and it's an information only. So this is one you might want to get in your library, or one of those, or get ordered or take it out from the public library as you get into your classrooms. The other way that you can get into the Learn Alberta resources is, I've been on all day and it kicked me out for being away for a moment, is to actually go into the Explore Resources section. And what you can do here is you can really take a look at the filters and use these to your advantage. And so we do have some resource collections, the Mathology Little Books, the Jump Math, and Gizmos. Gizmos are really helpful for math and science concepts, but for kindergarten and grade 1, there aren't as many choices. They're really helpful in some of the older grades. But what I would recommend that you do is toggle the grades that you're interested in. At this point, I'm going to select kindergarten and grade 1, and then I'm going to choose science. You can choose language and format, etc. And now that I am signed in, you can see that each of these books, this literacy reader, for example, is unlocked, and it connects directly to this learning outcome, A Frog's Life. And when I click on this resource, it brings me right to the book version of this resource. And there's a feature where you can click along like this and zoom in, zoom out.
It all begins at the pond.
And you can have your friend read it out loud for you if you like. So great images. It's all sourced and cited properly and directly connected to that particular resource for you. So within this, you'll see that there are quite a lot of resources. There's 63 that tag toward kindergarten and grade 1 science in both languages. So if you don't yet have your login for your own account with New Learn Alberta, it's totally worth doing that. There's also great Indigenous perspectives represented in the different books and resources that are connected here. This one, for example, Acorns for Wilaya, is you can see that it's connected to kindergarten and grade 1. So multiple different ones are here. And again, you can also give this resource link. You can put it into Google Classroom or whatever you need so that you can let your students see it, or you can put it on the board so that you can present it as a mentor text or read it together, perhaps as a group, or maybe even in as a center or something like that. So definitely take the time to check out New Learn Alberta. There's lots of resources that have been purchased and tagged particularly for those outcomes for you. All right, the next one, I think you're going to love this one. PBS Learning Media. Yeah, you remember the old PBS resource of websites and learning. They have a whole collection of videos, documents, interactive website types of learning. But one of the ones I wanted to show you was this one here. It's called, so you can see that it brings you to a student site, Peep and the Big Wide World After the Rain. Let's just give you a little moment of this particular video, which you can download or you can watch in English or Spanish. And just let's see what we can do with this one.
Well, today it rained.
That's me, Oliver, Jonah, sitting on the steps.
We're going to look at what the rain left behind.
On the big leaves, we found droplets.
Oh, look, water droplet right in the middle. Cool.
They looked a little strange. They kind of rolled off.
I see water on these wires here
From the rain. The tiny droplets look like diamonds.
Come on. Spiderweb with water droplets on it.
Some of it might be from the rain, some of it might be from some dew or something.
Yeah, morning dew.
We decided to make our own rain.
This is rainwater, so we'll use this to fill our watering can.
We made droplets on the leaf like real rain.
This particular resource also has teaching tips, a little bit of background reading if you want to make your own background understanding a little bit more robust, and then an activity that you can use to go with it. So really, this to me was a good example of a way to, today would be a good way to, it's rained, let's go see what evidence we can find. Let's go find out what we can notice. Let's have a quiet opportunity to look around and reflect, to talk to our friends, to ask questions, and to kind of work together to find that as we go. The other one that I wanted to show you in this example, and you can see as well that I've linked it to several from kindergarten and grade 1 in terms of the outcomes. This particular one here is it's an interactive lesson. So you can see that you can share it to Google Classroom, you can launch it. And this one here is really about how things move and the science of force and motion, which is one of the grade 1 outcomes. But also while learning that an author's reason to write is either to inform or entertain the reader. And so when you launch this, you can click through to the pages to learn about motion, and you get ready and you can watch a short video. And so there are little pieces that you can break down, or you can pull one section out, talk to the students about it, see how they can move around, what kinds of forces in motion can they connect to. And so there's a little bit more for teachers on the move here, and how you can access some of these pieces. So I thought you would like to see how some of those interactive pieces are possible. There's also in this one's called What's the Matter? A video. It's a minute and a half, and it's so clear and so concise, gives the vocabulary really clearly, nice, tight examples that aren't confusing, and are the speaker and the languages are really helpful. And you can play it over again and try to replicate some of these experiences in your class and using this as a provocation. So that's a tiny bit of what PBS Learning Media can do for you in your classroom. Anyone have experience with any of those resources? If not, maybe tomorrow. Maybe you'll have a chance. And so, all right. Now this one I did have to give my email address to, but then I just unlocked a whole bunch of great resources. And so Mystery Science, how can you find the animals in the woods? What I loved about this one is that there are learning outcomes around children exploring the movement of objects, humans, and other animals, and describing and being in a place where we can examine and really observe our environments. And so this particular video, I'll show you a little quick clip of it, also has activity prep and adaptations that you can do. It shows you that there's a hands-on activity, the gopher in the hole, and there's different ways that you can share and extend this lesson. So it's really always important to make this your own and not just use it step by step, because what we're really trying to do is to create the opportunity for deep learning, thinking about the transfer of these ideas and how they can connect to other things. And so there's lots of different pieces that belong in here, and you can use them to really support your students in what they need.
Hi, it's Doug. Whenever I get the chance to visit a forest, I love to look for animals, things like toads and newts and bugs. Once, I even found a baby owl staring at me from up in a tree. Have you ever tried to look for animals? They can be kind of hard to find. My friends are always telling me that they like to go on hikes with me because I'm pretty good at finding animals. But you can be good at it too. I can let you in on a few of my secrets, some tricks that I have to help me find them. If you were with me on the last mystery, we wondered, why do woodpeckers peck wood? And we saw a few different animals on a walk, all of them working to find food.
So I'll let you check out the rest, and I don't want to spoil the ending. That would be just not very cool of me. So Mystery Science, a great collection of resources that you can use as idea generators, and linking in some of the ways that they have provided tools with your good assessment practices and the ways that you can support that learning as you go. All right. So another resource that I want to share is Empowering the Spirit, Weaving Ways. Now, for kindergarten and grade 1, there are many different connections that you can make, and there are several spots where our curriculum asks us to consider an Indigenous way of knowing and considering the land and our environment around us. And so I've linked 3 different resources in here for you. The first is a short video that is a conversation with Elder Wilson Bearhead, and he responds to students around how do you become a knowledge keeper. This PDF here links to a process in which you can engage your students in talking circles so that you can think about how you build that knowledge and how you share your experiences in that circle, how you become a good listener, and you can create a positive space for that learning to come into fruition. And finally, I've connected you with a Canadian resource called the Learning Circle, which is posted on our Weaving Ways site, which was created by some of my amazing colleagues from ARPDC. And you can see that, I'll just take you to the table of contents. There are different aspects of units. Now, this is several years old, but you can still see connections to the grade 1 and the kindergarten curriculum in the seasons, in sharing, colors and games, and other resources here. So this is a great resource for you to check out and use in your practice. All right, let's move into the computer science realm. Many people are wondering, how do I start computer science if I'm not even sure that I know the background information about this? And while there are lots of tools and resources, and we actually have access to a whole other session specifically on computer science, I wanted to share one of the tools that I've found to be really successful. Scratch Junior is available on, you can use it on iPads or Chromebooks, or it doesn't work on like my MacBook that I'm using right now, but there's multiple different modalities that you can run this program on, and it's free. And so basically you have this interface guide, and the students will very quickly come to understand how they put these pieces together and how they can create these learning stories that happen within the Scratch Junior platform. And the idea is that they are coding and giving specific instructions to make that happen on their screen. And so those are the foundations of coding that students from ages 5, 6, and 7 can start to get their heads around. I'll just show you a little clip from this video. You don't have a class set of iPads.
We're working on Scratch Junior, which is a programming language for young kids, specifically designed for 5 to 7-year-olds, and is designed with them in mind, so it's developmentally appropriate, and children can create animated stories, interactive games, collages, or anything they imagine.
I like Scratch Junior because there's so many programs that you could make. It's like you can make your own movie.
You basically get to make your own game and do it yourself.
A few years ago, my research group at the MIT Media Lab introduced Scratch, a new programming language that lets kids ages 8 and up create their own interactive stories and games and animations. And kids around the world have been making millions of projects with Scratch.
A couple of years ago, we started a collaboration with Mitch at the MIT Media Lab to explore how we could extend Scratch for a version that's specifically designed for young children.
Here's how the game works. You have to guess which one from this row makes which one from this row invisible, and you win if you get all 3 right.
Computer programming, or coding, is like a new form of writing, a new type of literacy. Like writing.
So that is a little bit about Scratch Junior, and I will give you a chance to check out that in a little more detail. I'm just got to get out of this screen here.
When people learn.
The teenagers have arrived in my house. If you can hear them, we'll just let them be over there by themselves for a moment. Okay, and so Scratch Junior. The next resource that I'd like to share with you is one of my favorites, and this is called a website called The Kids Should See This. Honestly, you might never leave this site. I apologize because your evenings are going to be spent watching all these amazing videos and finding all of these motivations and inspirations for your science practice and every other subject as well. So I hope you can feel my enthusiasm coming right through the screen because it's pretty awesome. The first one, this is an example, and I've tagged it to several outcomes, as you can see. But the idea is that kids should see this is a curated collection of amazing videos that are all appropriate for our children. And you can see that they are in all of these different areas. There are hundreds and hundreds of videos. Sometimes they're linked into YouTube's, sometimes they are, but they all are connected through this vetting system, tagged with these video collections. And you can see that it gives you a little bit of an overview of what's happening in this video and how you might want to use it. And so the one that I was just like, had fallen in love with is this Life on the Inside. And so this particular scientist put a camera inside a bird box and watched how the
middle of spring,
how it all sort of progressed. I'm going to turn off the audio and just allow you to see how it looks as you work through and keep going along. Now, with young children in kindergarten or grade 1, you might want to use just different sections or you could talk through the parts, you could use chunks at a time, you could grab some stills from the video. But basically, they started to think, what would happen if we got a camera inside so that we could see what was going on inside that tree or inside that bird box? And honestly, the results are pretty fantastic. I'm going to skip ahead a little bit here. So you can see that the mama bird is starting to bring in different pieces and collecting. They talk about, so this connects to how the birds move, why they are foraging, how they're communicating with each other, what their purpose is and what they're doing. And then as you go a little further, you can see that she's gathered in different pieces of fur in the nesting. Hair and cotton and sticks and all kinds of things. It's so fascinating. By day 15, there's an egg evident. And so it's really quite amazing. You can see that over the next couple of days, there's more eggs. And this view is just really outstanding, isn't it? And so maybe you've seen this before. There's the light display. There's throughout this video, they also talk about what's happening outside and if there's a threat, how the birds will behave. It's just so clear, and the narration really helps to fill in what's happening. And now you can see these little tiny birds are emerging from their eggs after 36 days. These are black-capped chickadees, which is, of course, one local to our area. Look at these little beaks. And they talk a little bit about what's happening. And so I think your students and all the other teachers around you and your families will want to see this video too. I hope you feel the same as I do. So this one was actually curated on The Kids Should See This, and you'll see that it's pretty amazing. So I hope you will enjoy that. The other one that I grabbed from this site, just to show you the diversity and the range that is possible, this particular one is about dominoes. And so I thought about the ways in which this would help students understand movement and force and how the energy and the motion are created through this cat video and the dominoes. And it's quite entertaining, as was the other one there, but just watching how the cats behave and how they watch and what's happening with the dominoes and the interaction between those moving pieces, what kinds of forces are at play. Looks like a little bit of, the mousetrap kind of the Rube Goldberg science experiments, but really creating the motion and setting it up so that they can cause things to turn and twist and fall. Oh, it looks like there's a little stop here. We're going to need to get some movement happening in there. So it's super clever, and the children will really get a kick out of this. And we're almost ready to take the next part. Let's see if he does it. Spoiler, spoiler. Have a little stretch. And there it goes. So I hope you'll enjoy this one. There's so many things you could do with this as well. You could talk about questions. What questions come up? What observations can you make? What inferences can you make? What is this cat thinking? Could somebody add dialogue to this? Could we create a story? How do we get him to touch that? And what's making him want to be curious about that to make it move? Just kind of fascinating. I hope you love it. Any questions or comments about the kids should see this? Yeah, to something for tomorrow. That's good. I love it. If you can come to a session and have something for tomorrow, I am happy. That's been great. So the one thing that I think will be your most valued resource for unpacking the new science curriculum has really been supported by my colleagues across the province with ARPDC. And I want to show you how to get into this link. So when you click on this tile here or the heading, you will see that it brings you to the ARPDC website, and we have a list of new curriculum resources. If you browse, I'll show you how you can get into all of the subject areas here. And if you go into science, you can see that there are all kinds of amazing resources for you. In particular, I think what you'll like to find is that if you sort by grade, let's just go to grade 1 first. You'll see that there are specific sessions, webinars, and PDFs and slideshows for each organizing idea. And if they aren't all there, they're in process. And honestly, my team is working so hard. I can't believe how quickly some of these are being pushed out. So Introduction to Scientific Methods, exploring the new science grade 1 curriculum, living systems. And so when you click into a resource, you will see that there are, it's a webinar with that walks you through what's possible, presentation slides, assessment, curriculum support, and planning. Really, this is the gold mine for you. And I hope that you will find lots of support and help through these amazing resources. They also are available through like a registered session where you can go online to get those resources sent right to you, or you can attend the online pieces. Yeah, aren't they amazing? I'm so glad, Jennifer. Thank you. So I'm almost finished and want to get you out on time, but I couldn't really stop at 10. So you will see that there are several more. We couldn't also go without Bill Nye the Science Guide. This one will take you to the episode guide, and all of his work is on YouTube at this point. This 4 branches is a wonderful resource that I am going to use myself, because it's a 5-part webinar series that helps us to understand our own natural curiosity and link it into Indigenous lenses. So super excited about that. This is one more from The Kids Should See This. It's about an avocado who has lost his other half, and it's obviously an award-winning film, a 3-minute film of this little avocado who goes out looking for his partner. And it's just a touching, sort of science connected, but I wanted to share it with you anyway. It talks about identity and connection and relationship and environment and all kinds of things without really saying much in the dialogue. So check it out, and I hope that you will love it. So yes, who could stop at 10? I'm wondering, how many I wonders do you have at this point? What questions do you have? Anything you'd like to share? How many I wonders do you have? I'll just let you turn on your mics or pop your notes into the chat. Oh, the slides, you didn't get the slides from last week, and the recordings have been sent out to everyone who registered. And the slides are available on the very first slide. You can see, Wanda, let's very soon, yes, from last week. We'll resend all of those pieces so that you can see them. They just in case you've had just in case you didn't get a chance to look through all of them, or they got lost in the World Wide Web somewhere, we will resend the recordings and the slides from last week and also this week as well. So I hope you will have time to join me next week, and where we will look at pulling all of these pieces together through a transdisciplinary lens. Hope to see you then. Thanks so much.